Now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for August 24th. Well, here we are with another day in the wide world of tropics, and we have 4 systems active, whether they're alive or dead. The 2 systems active at this point are Tropical Storm Marty and Tropical Storm Omais. Henri is now gone, and so is Linda again. Hopefully Linda stays dead this time, considering it should have been gone a while ago. It's day 85 Atlantic hurricane season, and well, you see, it's late August and everything is back to chaos mode with 3 medium chance AOIs, the eastern 2 of which are now Invest 97, 98L. Of course, that Caribbean AOI is the one we're giving the highest chance for right now. It's day 101 of Eastern Pacific hurricane season. There's Tropical Storm Marty there, which of course formed from the remnants of Grace. Linda, of course, now dead again as it travels through Hawaii. And another AOI, which surprisingly has not been invested yet, but is likely to form as it parallels the coast of Mexico. And in the Western Pacific, Omais remains tropical, but is undergoing extratropical transition. Of course, it is still there after it passed South Korea, so cannot be written out just yet, but its life is almost over. It's been quite a long one. And in the North Indian Ocean, we're still not looking at much of anything going on right now. Of course, it is to be expected with the North Indian Ocean. Absolutely nada, and really nothing to be coming in the next few days or weeks here. Moving on over to the North Atlantic satellite imagery, you can kind of see what is left of Henri, which has pretty much become entirely frontal at this point. Not really much left of it anymore. Other than that, you can kind of see the Invest there, 97L to the west of the Cape Verde Islands, and then 98L to the south towards the bottom of your screen there. And then moving on over to the Eastern Pacific, you can see Linda losing all of its convection and becoming a remnant low, and then of course Marty there. The Eastern Pacific satellite not doing a really good job in terms of technical issues. You can see the lines there. Thankfully that satellite is expected to get replaced later this year. And then of course when you go into the Western Pacific, you can kind of see Omais there on the top. It is undergoing extratropical transition at this point. We had a depression, but surface observations did prove that this was indeed still a tropical storm, and that is why we still have it as such, even though the JTWC has issued their final advisory on this. So for those who were wondering what was the case with that, that basically sums it all. And of course, in the North Indian Ocean, not much going on here as to be expected, just your usual cloud cover you would typically see from the monsoonal season going on in the Bay of Bengal, and the Arabian Sea, not literally looking at much of anything at all there. And then zooming, of course, into Marty there, you can see it's mainly sheared to the eastern side. It's not going to be a long-lasting tropical cyclone, as the conditions are going to be getting a little bit less conducive for this thing. So a tropical storm peak is definitely what we're going to be looking at this. It's going to be more of less the storm behind it that probably will get stronger. Here are the sea surface temperatures. We're looking at 29 to 30 degrees Celsius temperatures across the coastal waters of Mexico. Other than that, it's 27 to 28 for a majority of the Eastern Pacific Basin. The Gulf of Mexico remains around 30 degrees Celsius, although Grace still weak in the sea surface temperatures down slightly, although of course they're still warm nonetheless. 27 to 28 is still good enough. And then of course most of the tropical Atlantic is around 27 to 29 degrees Celsius respectively, especially as you cross into the Caribbean. The North Indian Ocean, we're still looking at those 28 to 29 degrees Celsius temperatures, and then of course in the Arabian Sea, starts out around 28, but those temperatures quickly decline as you head towards the west. And in the Western Pacific, we're still looking at those pretty warm temperatures, 30 degrees Celsius for a good chunk of the South China Sea, and portions of the Philippine Sea, and areas near the equator. The southern hemisphere is still looking relatively cool, as to be expected, but maybe those temperatures might warm up slightly in the coming months. After all, we are still in summer, which means it is winter over there. And then looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies, the subtropics and high latitudes remain relatively warm, and then the main development region much warmer than normal. A little bit of a cold trail left behind by Grace, but even then, it's still not really much to matter in the grand scheme of things. So not something that can really take down much at this point. On this day in 2011, it was a much quieter one than what we were looking at last night on this day. Nothing in the Eastern Pacific this time, but there was Hurricane Irene, which was peaking at the Category 3, before dealing a massive amount of destruction and devastation across parts of the Bahamas and the entire eastern seaboard. Namadol was also active and would become a super typhoon as well. At this point, it was nearly a Category 1, and a very upper-end tropical storm at that. Of course, you can find more on this day products powered by Cyclone History. Their tag is on the bottom below there. Well, that brings us to the next names. In the Atlantic, the next names are Ida followed by Julian. In the Eastern Pacific, the next two names here are Nora and Olaf. And in the Central Pacific, despite us getting the past, present, and future together, we still could not figure out a way to get Hone anytime soon here. Moving on over to the Western Pacific, the next name is Kansan followed by Chantu. And in the North Indian Ocean, we are still awaiting Gulab and Shaheen. Two names we're probably not going to be seeing for quite some time in this basin. Moving on over to the Southern Hemisphere, of course, the Southwestern Indian Ocean. The next two names here are Anna followed by Betsire. In the Australian region, we're looking out for Patty and Ruby. And in the South Pacific, we're looking out for Cody. We'll be back for another tropical weather bulletin tomorrow night.